You never forget the moment your world quietly breaks. It doesn't come with thunder or screaming. Sometimes it's just silence, the kind that eats you alive. I remember standing in my kitchen that morning, sunlight pouring through the window like nothing was wrong, while my phone buzzed over and over again. It was my brother, Nate. "Hey, sis," his message said. "I just need a few more days to move the money back, okay? Don't stress. I got this." That was the last message he ever sent. We had trusted him, not just with our savings, but with the dream my husband and I had built from nothing. After David died 2 years ago, everything I owned, everything I was for my son, Tyler. I thought Nate was the one person I could still count on. But by the time I realized the truth, it was too late. The joint account was empty. Every dollar from the insurance payout gone. I remember running to the bank, my hands shaking so bad I couldn't even sign the withdrawal slip. The clerk looked at me like she'd seen it before, people broken in the quietest ways. She said softly, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. The transfers were authorized last week." It felt like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. That night, I sat at the edge of Tyler's bed. He was 12, still small for his age, with that kind of kindness that made you believe the world wasn't all bad. "Mom, did Uncle Nate fix the business?" he asked, blinking up at me. I forced a smile. "Yeah, baby. He's working on it." I lied. Because how do you tell your child the one man he called family had betrayed us? Days passed. The house felt colder, emptier. I sold the car, pawned my wedding ring, and started taking double shifts at the diner. The walls creaked at night, and sometimes I'd wake up to Tyler crying in his sleep, whispering his dad's name. One afternoon, I found him in the garage, sitting by the old fishing box that used to belong to his father. Inside, he'd written something on a piece of cardboard. It said, "We don't give up." I didn't know it then, but those 4 words would change everything. Because what I thought was the end of our story was just the beginning of his. That same evening, while I was trying to figure out how to keep the lights on, Tyler came into the kitchen with his tablet. "Mom," he said quietly, "I think I found Uncle Nate." I froze. "How?" He turned the screen toward me, a photo of Nate on some social page, standing in front of a brand new truck, smiling, a beer in his hand, and that same fake charm I'd defended my whole life. Tyler's voice didn't shake. "He's in Denver. Look, the plate on that truck, it's registered to him." I felt my stomach twist. My little boy had found him, the man who vanished with everything we had. And when I looked into Tyler's eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen since David died. Resolve. He wasn't angry, not yet. But I knew that look. It was the beginning of something unstoppable. Because the next words that came out of his mouth would set a storm in motion that none of us saw coming. "Mom," he whispered, "if he took what's ours, can't we take it back?" The spoon in my hand slipped, clattering against the counter. And in that small sound, I swear I heard the world start to shift. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Nate's face, the way he used to grin when we were kids, stealing cookies from Mom's jar, swearing we'd always have each other's backs. How did we end up here? How did he become the man who could look at his sister and her son and still take everything? When morning came, Tyler was already awake. He sat at the kitchen table with his cereal untouched, the tablet beside him glowing faintly. "I checked again," he said, his voice small but steady. "Uncle Nate's been posting from the same bar. It's called the Brass Lantern. I found it on Google Maps. It's in Denver, near the highway." I wanted to tell him to stop. To shut the tablet, forget all about it, and let me handle things. But the truth was I didn't know how to handle anything anymore. I felt powerless, like someone had reached inside my chest and taken the air out of my lungs. "Ty," I whispered, trying to sound calm, "you can't go looking for him. He's not who you think he is." He looked up at me, and for a moment, he looked so much like his father that it hurt. "I know who he is, Mom. He's the guy who hurt you. And Dad wouldn't just sit here and let him." That broke me. I dropped into the chair across from him, pressing my hands to my face. "Sweetheart, your dad, he believed in doing the right thing. But sometimes doing the right thing means walking away." He didn't answer. He just stared at me with those deep, searching eyes that saw too much for 12 years old. Later that week, I came home from work and found a piece of paper taped to the fridge. It had Nate's picture printed from the internet, his truck's license plate, and the words, "We don't give up," written beneath it. Tyler had turned it into a mission. At first, I thought it was just how he was coping, something to help him feel less helpless. But a few days later, strange things started happening. I got an email from an unknown address. Nate Parker, complaint filed. It looked official, from a lending company I'd never heard of. Attached was a form with Nate's name on it, listing potential fraudulent activity. I assumed it was spam, but Tyler's eyes lit up when he saw it. "Mom," he said, "I found out he used your name on one of his loan applications." "That's identity theft, right?" My heart dropped. "How do you even know that?" He hesitated, then mumbled, "I checked his LinkedIn. His resume said he worked for Milepoint Construction. But when I searched the company, it said permanently closed. So I emailed their accountant, pretending to be him." I stared at him, speechless. My 12-year-old son had just socially engineered his own uncle. "Tyler, you can't. This is serious," I said, my voice trembling. "I know," he said quietly. "That's why I'm doing it." That night, I sat on the porch, staring out at the dark street. I could feel David's old flannel jacket wrapped around me, the one he used to wear when we'd dream about buying that cabin by the lake. The money Nate stole wasn't just cash, it was every dream we'd built as a family. And now, somehow, my little boy was taking the first steps to make it right. But I couldn't shake the fear. What if Nate found out? What if he came after us? I decided to call him one last time. The phone rang 3 times before a voice answered. "Yeah, Nate, it's me." A pause. Then a laugh, short and sharp. "Well, if it isn't my favorite sister. Took you long enough." My throat tightened. "You stole from me, Nate. From us." "Why?" "Relax," he said. "It was just a loan. I'll pay it back when I can." "A loan?" I whispered. "You took everything." His tone hardened. "You always were dramatic." "Look, I had some bad breaks, all right? Don't make this bigger than it is." And then, just before he hung up, he said something that made my blood run cold. "Tell the kid not to stick his nose where it doesn't belong." The line went dead. I sat there, phone trembling in my hand, realizing 2 things. Nate knew what Tyler was doing, and he wasn't sorry. Inside, Tyler's light flickered on. I could see his shadow through the curtain, small, determined, unstoppable. And in that moment, I knew. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. The next morning came heavy, like the air itself was warning me. I stood by the window with my coffee growing cold in my hand, watching Tyler walk down the driveway toward the school bus. His backpack looked too big for him, his steps too sure for a 12-year-old. When he turned to wave, I forced a smile. He grinned, but there was something behind that smile, a quiet promise I didn't understand yet. By noon, I got a call from the school. "Mrs. Lawson?" Tyler didn't show up for 3rd period. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. I drove faster than I ever had in my life, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I found his phone on his bed, his tablet open on a map of Denver. My boy had left. I called everyone, his friends, neighbors, even Nate. Straight to voicemail. The panic was louder than my heartbeat. Then I saw it, an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside, a note written in Tyler's messy scrawl. "Mom, don't worry. I'm going to fix it. I'll call you soon. We don't give up." Tears blurred my vision. By the time the police came, it was too late. He'd taken the bus to the city. A 12-year-old with a backpack full of sandwiches and courage, chasing justice no adult had been brave enough to face. Hours later, the phone finally rang. "Mom?" His voice was small but steady. "I'm okay. I'm at the Brass Lantern. He's here." My breath caught. "Tyler, listen to me, you have to leave right now." "I can't," he said. "He's bragging about what he did. About you. He told people you begged him for help." "He's lying, Mom." Everyone's laughing. My tears turned to anger. "Sweetheart, please. Just come home. I'll handle it." He was silent for a moment. Then, quietly, "No, Mom. You handled everything. It's my turn." The line clicked dead. I drove through the night, the miles blurring beneath me. The radio was off, All I could hear was the pounding in my chest and the echo of his last words. By the time I reached the bar, dawn was breaking, a soft, gray light spilling over the parking lot. Tyler's bike was leaning against a lamppost. Inside, the place smelled of spilled beer and smoke. A few early drinkers stared as I walked in. Then I saw him, Nate, slouched at a table, half asleep, a whiskey glass still in his hand. And right across from him, my son. Tyler sat there, calm, collected, staring straight at the man who destroyed our lives. There was something in his gaze I'd never seen before, not hate, not fear, just quiet control. "Tyler," I whispered. He turned to me, then looked back at Nate. "He's not even sorry, Mom." Nate blinked, confused, still drunk. "Hey, look who it is." The whole family reunion. I grabbed Tyler's hand. "We're leaving." But before I could pull him away, Nate laughed low and ugly. "Relax, sis. The kid just wanted to talk. Smart one, though. Says he's got something to show me. Something I might want to see before the cops do." My eyes widened. "Tyler, what did you do?" He met my gaze, his voice calm. "I sent all the files to his boss. The fake contracts, the bank transfers, everything. He doesn't know yet, but the company already got them. They're investigating." Nate froze. His smile vanished. "You what?" he growled. Tyler stood up, shoulders squared. "You stole from Mom. You said Dad's money didn't matter. But it mattered to us. And now it matters to everyone who knows what you did." The bar fell silent. Nate's chair screeched as he stood, towering over him. "You little punk!" Before he could move, I stepped between them. "Enough." Nate stopped, breathing hard. For a moment, the only sound was the hum of the old jukebox. Then Tyler's voice, quiet but sharp. "You said Dad would be proud of you." "He wouldn't. He'd be proud of me for not giving up." Nate's face shifted, something between shame and rage. Then he turned and stormed out. I dropped to my knees, pulling Tyler into my arms. "Don't you ever do that again," I whispered, shaking. He hugged me back. "I had to, Mom." He needed to see what it feels like when someone takes everything from you. Outside, police lights flashed in the distance. Tyler's message had reached further than I realized. He didn't just find his uncle, he'd exposed him. As the sirens drew closer, Tyler's hand tightened in mine. "You said we don't give up," he murmured. And for the first time since David died, I believed him. The flashing red and blue lights painted the parking lot in restless color. I remember standing there, holding Tyler close while the officers questioned Nate. He didn't resist. Maybe he knew it was over. Maybe he was too drunk to care. When they read him his rights, he barely looked up, just muttered, "You think this fixes anything?" I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure it did. Tyler was trembling, not from fear, but from the kind of adrenaline that hits when your body hasn't yet realized it's safe. I knelt in front of him, brushing the hair out of his eyes. "You okay?" He nodded, but his lip quivered. "I didn't mean for it to be like this. I just wanted him to stop lying." "It's not your fault," I said softly. "None of this is your fault." But even as I said it, I could see the guilt already starting to root in his eyes. The next few days passed in a blur. Police reports, phone calls, interviews. The bank confirmed the stolen transfers, the fake accounts. Everything Tyler had uncovered checked out. Nate had been using my identity for months, loans, credit cards, even a car under my name. The amount he'd stolen was more than I'd ever wanted to know. When the story hit the local news, the headline read, "Boy uncovers family fraud. 12-year-old exposes uncle in $78,000 scam." Reporters showed up at the diner, asking for comments. Some people called it incredible. Others whispered words like reckless. I didn't care about either. I just wanted my son to have a normal day again. But something in him had changed. At night, he didn't draw or play games anymore. He just sat by the window, watching the streetlights. Sometimes he'd whisper to himself, words I couldn't quite hear. One evening, I found him sitting in the living room with a box of old photos, me, David, Nate. He looked up, his eyes red. "Mom, do you think people turn bad, or were they always bad?" The question cut straight through me. I sat beside him. "I think people get lost, Ty. Some find their way back. Some don't." He nodded slowly. I think Uncle Nate got lost. But what if I did too? I took his face in my hands. You didn't. You did what you thought was right. But I hurt him, he whispered. I wanted him to be scared. His voice cracked on that last word, and I felt tears sting my own eyes. Sweetheart, I said, wanting justice doesn't make you bad. It makes you human. But it's what we do after, that's what matters. He leaned against me, small and quiet again, and for a moment, I let myself breathe. A week later, Nate's lawyer called. He wanted to talk, said Nate was ready to make things right. I almost hung up, but something in me needed closure. So I agreed to meet him. We went to the county jail. Tyler came with me, holding my hand so tightly it hurt. When Nate walked into the visitor room, he looked older, smaller somehow. The arrogance was gone. His eyes flicked to Tyler, then to me. Guess the kid's a genius, he said. No one laughed. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he continued. I just needed a break. I was drowning and he stopped, rubbing his face. You had what I didn't. I swallowed the lump in my throat. You could have asked, Nate. You could have just asked. He looked at Tyler again. You got me good, kid. Better than I ever thought possible. Tyler didn't say anything. He just looked at him with that same quiet strength that had terrified me and saved us all at once. When the guard came to take Nate back, he hesitated, then said, Tell him, he's better than me. We drove home in silence. The sun was setting, the sky a soft gold. Tyler finally spoke. Do you think he's sorry? I thought for a long moment. Maybe not yet, but maybe one day. He stared out the window, his reflection merging with the fading light. I don't want to hate him, Mom. I just want him to understand. You already made him understand, I said quietly. That night, I found a new note taped to the fridge. Tyler had written just 3 words this time. We forgive anyway. And as I stood there in the soft kitchen light, I realized that somewhere between heartbreak and justice, my son had found something stronger than either. He'd found peace. It's strange how quiet life gets after the storm. For weeks, our house felt heavier than ever, like every wall remembered what had happened. The reporters stopped calling, the diner gossip faded, and slowly, people went back to their own lives. But for us, nothing really went back. Not yet. Tyler had changed. He was still the same sweet, funny kid who'd leave notes on the fridge and draw faces in the window fog, but there was something deeper behind his eyes now, something older. Some nights, I'd hear him whisper in his sleep, I didn't mean to hurt him. The world had turned him into something it shouldn't have, a boy who'd seen too much of what grown-ups are capable of. Then, one chilly Saturday morning, I opened the mailbox and found an envelope addressed in a familiar, messy scrawl. No return name. Just to my sister and the kid. Inside was a letter and a money order. $20,000. I can't undo what I did. But I'll start trying. Nate. I didn't know whether to cry or tear it up. Tyler was standing behind me, reading over my shoulder. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he whispered, He really sent it? Looks like it, I said. He took the letter, folded it neatly, and put it on the fridge beside his old sign. We don't give up. Maybe he's trying, Mom. Maybe, I said softly. Trying's a start. For a while, things seemed to settle. I got a small raise at the diner. We used part of the money to pay off debts, and I put the rest away for Tyler's college fund, David's dream for him. The world was moving again, quietly, carefully. But the truth is, peace doesn't always come easy. One evening, as we walked home from church, an older woman stopped us on the sidewalk. She looked at Tyler and smiled. You're the boy from the news, aren't you? Tyler froze. She put a hand on his shoulder. You're brave, sweetheart. The world needs kids like you. He forced a smile, but I could feel the tension in his grip. Later that night, I found him sitting on the porch steps, staring into the dark. I don't want to be the boy from the news, he said quietly. I just wanted things to be okay again. I sat beside him, wrapping my arm around his shoulders. I know, baby. But sometimes when you do something big, the world doesn't forget. He sighed. Then I wish I hadn't. His words cut deep. I wanted to tell him that what he did mattered, that it brought justice, that it saved us, but I also knew what he meant. The truth is, Even when justice comes, it doesn't always feel like winning. Weeks passed. Then, one afternoon, the phone rang. It was the prison chaplain. "Mrs. Lawson, I thought you should know. Your brother's been doing well. He's been working in the auto shop. He asked for your address." My first instinct was no. But then I looked at Tyler, who was watching me from across the kitchen. His expression was calm, almost waiting. "Tell him he can write," I said finally. The letters started coming once a week. Short at first. Small talk, apologies tucked between lines. Then stories, memories of us as kids, of David, of the lake trips we used to take. It was strange, seeing pieces of the brother I used to know come back on paper. Sometimes I'd read them to Tyler. Sometimes I wouldn't. Then one day, Tyler came home from school with something in his hand. A small metal keychain. It was shaped like a wrench, engraved with 2 letters, N+T. "Shop teacher gave it to me," he said with a half smile. "Said it was from someone who used to fix engines here." Guess who? I stared at it, my heart catching. "He sent it through the school?" He nodded. "Said to tell you thanks for not giving up on him." That night, Tyler placed the keychain next to the framed photo of David on the mantel. "Dad would have liked this," he said softly. I smiled through tears. Yeah, he would have. For the first time in a long time, the air in our house felt lighter. Because maybe forgiveness isn't a single moment. Maybe it's something you keep choosing, every day, one letter, one keychain, one small act at a time. And though Nate was still behind bars, I could feel the distance between us slowly shrinking, not because of the past we shared, but because of the boy who refused to let hate have the last word. Winter came early that year. The first snow fell before Thanksgiving, quiet and heavy, blanketing the town in a white stillness that made every sound echo. I remember standing on the porch that morning, watching Tyler scrape frost off the mailbox with his mittened hands. He was humming to himself, something soft, something familiar. When he pulled the mail out, there was another letter from Nate, the 7th since his arrest. The envelope was thin, almost empty. Tyler brought it in, setting it gently on the table. "You want to open it together?" he asked. I nodded, though part of me dreaded it every time. The letter was shorter than usual. Just a few lines. "They're releasing me early. Good behavior. I'll be in town next month. If you don't want to see me, I understand. But I'd like to try." No signature this time. Just his name printed neatly at the bottom, Nate Parker. Tyler stared at it for a long time. "He's getting out," he said quietly. "Yeah," I whispered. "What if people find out?" he asked. "They'll start talking again." I reached across the table, taking his hand. "Let them talk. What matters is what we do now." But the truth was, I didn't know what we should do. I'd spent months trying to make peace with the man Nate had been, not the one who stole from us, but the brother I grew up with. I wanted to believe he'd changed, but forgiveness is easy to write in letters. Living it is harder. The weeks slipped by. The snow turned to slush, Christmas lights flickered across Main Street, and still, I couldn't decide whether to see him. Then one evening, I came home to find Tyler sitting by the window, coat zipped, backpack on. "Where are you going?" I asked. He looked at me with that same steady calm he'd had since the beginning. "He's getting out today, Mom." "I want to be there." My heart sank. "Ty, no, he needs time." "You need time." He shook his head. "If he walks out and we're not there, he'll think we hate him." I don't want to hate anyone anymore. I should have stopped him. I knew I should have. But when I looked into his eyes, David's eyes, I couldn't say no. So we drove. The prison sat just outside the city, surrounded by endless gray fields and wire fences. The sky was pale and heavy with snow. We waited by the gate, the car engine idling, silence filling the space between us. Then, the door opened. Nate stepped out in a plain coat, his hair shorter, his face thinner. When he saw us, he froze, disbelief flickering across his face. He looked almost afraid to walk closer. I rolled down the window. "Get in," I said softly. For a moment, he didn't move. Then he nodded, opening the back door and sliding in quietly. No words, just the sound of the car heater humming. We drove for miles without speaking. Finally, Tyler broke the silence. "You look different." Nate chuckled faintly. "Yeah, well, prison's not exactly a spa." Tyler smiled a little. It was the first time I'd seen him smile like that around Nate in years. We stopped by the diner. The same one where I'd worked double shifts after the money vanished. The same one where I'd once cried behind the counter, praying for a miracle. We sat in a booth, 3 people trying to remember how to be a family. The waitress brought coffee for me, hot chocolate for Tyler, nothing for Nate. He stared at his hands, scarred and rough. "I can't ask you to forget," he said finally. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not for getting caught. For hurting you. For making him grow up too fast." Tyler looked up. "You didn't make me grow up. I just had to." Nate's voice broke. "You shouldn't have had to, kid." For a long time, none of us spoke. Outside, the snow kept falling, thick and slow, covering everything, even the past. When we finally left, Nate handed me a folded piece of paper. "A friend of mine runs a repair shop in town. He said he'd give me a job. I want to earn what I took." I took the paper, my hand trembling. "One step at a time, Nate." He nodded, eyes wet. "One step at a time." As we pulled away, Tyler watched him through the rear window until he disappeared in the snow. "He's really trying," he said quietly. "Yeah," I whispered. "And maybe that's enough for now." Later that night, Tyler came into my room. "Mom?" "Yeah, baby." He sat at the edge of the bed. "When you said forgiveness is a choice, how do you know when you've actually done it?" I smiled faintly. "When you stop needing the person who hurt you to feel worse than you do." He thought about that for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Then maybe. I'm almost there." And in that quiet, with the snow still falling outside and the world feeling a little softer, I realized that forgiveness doesn't heal the past. It just stops the past from stealing your future. Spring came quietly, melting away the last of winter's snow. The world looked new again, fresh, washed clean, like maybe we all had another chance. Nate kept his word. He showed up every morning at the repair shop on Main, grease under his nails, sweat on his brow, and not once did he ask for praise. People still whispered, but whispers fade when actions speak louder. Slowly, the town started seeing him for who he was trying to be, not who he'd been. Tyler and I would stop by sometimes, bringing coffee. Nate always saved the last sip for Tyler, said it was good luck. One afternoon, I caught them laughing about something I couldn't hear, the sound of it soft, fragile, real. For the first time in years, it felt like family. That night, Tyler found me in the kitchen, the golden light of sunset spilling through the window. "Mom," he said, "do you think Dad would be proud of us?" I looked at him, this boy who had carried more than most men ever do, who'd turned pain into strength and anger into something like grace. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I think he'd be proud of all of us." Outside, the wind carried the faint smell of spring rain. I thought about everything we'd lost and everything we'd found. Forgiveness hadn't come in one grand moment. It came in the quiet mornings, the shared laughter, the letters, the small steps forward. Sometimes, healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without breaking. Before bed, I walked past the fridge. 2 notes hung there, side by side. The first one, faded and torn, "We don't give up." And right next to it, in Tyler's careful handwriting, "We forgive anyway." I stood there for a long time, my hand resting on both. Maybe that was what life really was, holding on and letting go, all at once. And for the first time since my brother vanished, I wasn't angry anymore. Just grateful we'd all found our way home.